Hello, everybody. The importance of your attitude in your success. So, I'm just gonna do a quick check to make sure that everything is live properly and that the sound is coming through all right. And let me know if you guys can hear me well. Just gonna check it because today is gonna be a really special episode. The importance. Yeah, it's working. All right, awesome. Yeah, the today's episode is going to be a really special one. I'm really excited for it as well because I'm making this with someone special in mind. And I want to first and foremost say a thank you to that person. I don't know if this person will be here live or will be watching the replay, but I just want to say I want to say thank you. And secondly, that I believe in you and you got this and you're going to make your dreams and your successes come true really, really soon. So, why are we talking about this episode and who is this mostly important for? So, this topic of your own attitude, your own thoughts, and your own beliefs in the creation of success is actually really, really important. One can almost argue that it's a lot more important than your actions, almost as important or almost more important than your actions, or maybe it is more important than your actions. I actually don't know, but I know that basically those two ingredients, the way how you think about it and think about success and think about what is possible, is going to directly translate into the type of actions that you take. Hence, the type of actions that are required for you to get to success are going to be affected if you don't believe in it, or if you have an attitude of, well, we'll see what happens, or you're a bit more skeptical, or things like that. So I would probably argue that the way how we believe in things can even be more important. But at the end of the day, both our thoughts, our attitude, and our beliefs and our actions need to happen in order to get any form of success. So, who is this really for? Maybe you are right now at a point in your life that you have been trying to achieve a certain goal, whether that is to bring your business to a certain level of income, or to even just launch your business successfully, or maybe you are trying to accomplish a fitness goal, or you want to attract an incredible partnership into your life, whether that's a personal partnership or a business partnership, whatever it may be. And you feel like you're doing a lot of the work that is supposed to be done, but for some reason, nothing significantly is changing. And it almost feels as if it was too good to be true to begin with. And you're trying and trying and trying, but the more you try, the more frustrated you get because it seems like it's all just one big lie. Like, this success thing is probably not for everybody. Now, what I want to start off with, again, no matter who you are and no matter which of these scenarios may apply to you, that success is absolutely possible. And I always like the quote that Regan Hillier says at the end of her videos, that she says, you can absolutely have it all. But what is important in that is the way how you then get closer to that ideal outcome. And that goes both in thoughts, in attitude, in actions, and in so many other aspects. And in this video today, I want to simplify it as easy as possible so that everyone who watches this today will be able to implement this in their lives and in their businesses so that you can actually see significant changes. So with that being said, as the intro, I'm going to put the intro video on and then we're going to dive deep. Do let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and where you want to apply this to as well. Here we go. All right, welcome back to another live session. I hope you guys can hear me properly. And again, I'm trying to have a look as well at the chat because I always really want to make this as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions at any given point during today's session, then do let me know by commenting below. And another thing is, I want to do these sessions again based on topics that we hear about every single day, whether it's from our students or from our community or from people that will be commenting here on these videos. I would like to do this every single day, like a live episode, just to help people solve their problems. So if you have a topic in mind for that, do let me know, comment it below. But I'm just very excited for that. So back to the topic. So I want to start off by drawing a very simple diagram that I think everybody has probably seen before, especially if you've been in the self-development space. This is kind of the thing that everybody talks about. And the reason for that is because it is so very simple and so very true. So I'm just going to quickly put it on here and then let you see what this is. So this is a diagram where it basically says your beliefs lead to your actions, and your actions create your results, which will then solidify the beliefs that you have, and then lead to the next set of actions. So why can it be very, very, very detrimental when someone wants to get results and you're taking the actions, but you're not actually seeing the desired results? Is because that instantly is going to affect your beliefs. And therefore, the next set of actions that you take, if you don't get the results that you want, are going to be with some sort of tainted belief, which could lead to those actions being less good, therefore more solidifying the less good results and more solidifying the belief of like, I'm not even sure if this is possible. So that's why in a lot of our events, for instance, Project 1 Million in 1 Year, or when we're working with our clients on in our programs, we always say that success really is a mind game, because you really have to be strong in your mind to be able to overcome that certain hurdle that is there. And that hurdle isn't necessarily that hard, but it really is important that you are able to deal with it when things don't necessarily go your way. And that can be hard sometimes. And so what is one of the things that I want to start off with is basically, I want to draw a comparison to what I had basically learned in science when I was back in the day in my science job versus in business. So in science, one of the core things is you have to see it before you believe it, right? You have to see the evidence, you have to have proof, you have to check and recheck and recheck. And only once you can really, really see it, then you're like, okay, now I can believe that. Now we can assume that that theory is proven until some other better theory comes around. Whereas in business, it's the other way around. You have to believe it before it's there. And that's why it's always really inspiring to listen to the stories of people that have generated success. And so I want to give as a tip for today's episode as well, that you pick at least one person that you are inspired by and that you can find a decent amount of information on, and then either read their autobiography or a book that is written about them, or watch an interview with that person. Because what you will see, whether this is going to be an entrepreneur that you're going to dive in deeper to, or whether this is an author or an athlete, whoever that person is for you, maybe your parents. Like for me, my parents, I look up to my parents so much, and every single day I hope that I can be just a little bit of what they are doing, and I have the benefits of being able to actually speak to my parents as well. So it could be that the person that you are inspired by is a person that you can actually ask questions. But what you will find is that any person who has achieved a certain amount of success that you are really inspired by and that you wish to accomplish yourself as well, that person will tell you that there were a lot of challenges before they got to where they were. As a matter of fact, I personally believe that those challenges are crucial in the creation of success, because it is in those challenges that we become the person that we are supposed to be, that is ready for accepting that gift of the result. Say, for instance, that this is a really weird example, but say for instance that I want to get a certain success, and that is a very big trophy, and this trophy is so big that only if you're really, really strong you can hold that trophy up, right? So what happens is, in order for me to gain that trophy, I have to train, have to get stronger, I have to become mentally strong, I have to be consistent, I have to be persistent. There's going to be days where I get an injury that I don't feel so good, so I have to train, 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 train. And then only then, once my body and vessel and mind is strong enough to be able to actually carry that vessel, is when carry that trophy, is when I actually get the trophy as well, because now I'm strong enough, I can actually carry it. And so I want you to keep that analogy, even though this is maybe a bit of a weird one, in your mind, and think about success in that way as well. Like if you want to get to where you make 1 million in your business, then it takes a certain rite of passage, a certain level of training as well, for you to be able to get that, so that you can actually accept it and you're ready for accepting it and you're ready for maintaining that as well. An interesting thing that a lot of the time is spoken about is, for instance, when you see people winning the lottery, a lot of the time those people are not able to keep the money. They just blow it within a very short space of time. That means because they were given that result without actually being ready for it. And that's devastating in a way, but it also actually makes sense because they didn't go through a level of training and persistence and certain, like, making yourself ready to be able to accept that million. And if you did, you would look at it and treat it and maintain it and want to multiply it and keep that sustainability for you and your family for a lot longer and in a lot better way. So that's one element as well. And it may not always sound nice because we want to get to that result right now. And who wants to do just a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months or even a couple of years more work before you finally get there? Because in our minds, we know, like, yeah, I deserve this. I'm ready for this finally. But you ain't ready until you're really ready. And the way how our mind plays a part in that is really important. So I hope this part makes sense in terms of, like, the importance and the beauty of challenges, because we are being made in those moments. And that's why listening to those stories and reading a book or speaking to a person that you are really inspired by can be so encouraging, because you see that whatever it is that you're facing right now, they had to face too, and they had overcome it. And that's why right now we look up to them. We're like, man, we put these people on a pedestal. Like today, I was doing my homework, listening to a specific lecture about closing by Grant Cardone. And he says for every deal that he brags about during that lecture, there's at least 12 deals that go all the way wrong, and he makes a mistake and things don't go as what, what he wanted to do. And so what people don't realize all the time is that every overnight success was many years in the making. So understand that you are right now in the process as well of making, like you're being made into that thing. But why then, again, coming back to the point of our attitude, and why is that so important? Now, it's an interesting thing because there is a direct correlation between each of these things. So we have the beliefs, we have the action, and then we have the results. And so what I think sometimes can be really not clear, and I'm very guilty of this as well, is that sometimes we think like, oh, as long as I do the actions, then I should be getting the results. But that's not entirely true. Like the actions are important, but it's also the type of action that you take. And that's why we in our events always talk about action with conviction. Because if you take action with conviction, the conviction basically means that you know that it's gonna happen. So there's no doubt about it. I'm going to do this. I am going to achieve my result. And I know that that's going to happen. There's no plan B. This is where I'm going and I'm making it happen. Or I'm open to something better. So that's like that kind of attitude and mind that you want to have, because when you take action with that level of with that level of thinking and attitude, that energy dissipates in everything. It dissipates into the universe, it dissipates into the people that you encounter, it even dissipates and amplifies in ourselves, and our ability to be fueled by the way how we think about it and the way how we take action. It's an amplifier. It really is. And it's like a catalyst, making it like there was a little bit of action, but it amplified to, like, as if you did a huge thing that day. um But in actual fact, it was just you really believing in it and just like, man, I'm doing this. And it could be that that day it results in nothing seemingly, but you just really feel good about it, and it makes you feel confident and excited to wake up next day to do it again. So that's a really, really important thing. Now, how do you get to that? And how does that basically come from the beliefs? So what are beliefs? Basically, the way how I want to break it down in this video, and there's probably a lot more sophisticated ways how one can do it, but I don't really care about sophistication. I care about making things simple. So in the way how I would break it down for this video today is that our beliefs are basically funded in three elements. So in that, I want you to write down the beliefs comes into the way how we think about things. So our thoughts, it comes into our attitude, and it comes into our energy. And this almost spells T if I do the different follow order. So the belief, it basically comes from how do we think about things, what is the attitude that we carry, and what's the energy that we have. But what we have to really be aware of as well is that all of these things, and that's why belief very much is influenced by it, is influenced by the environment that we are in as well. And I'll explain the significance of that. So what is the kind of belief, attitude, and energy that you would want to have? I'm going to go into that first. And then secondly, what is the belief, the thoughts, sorry, attitude, and energy that most people have, which is why the results are holding, like they're not actually coming forth. So let me just start by the ideal situation first. So the ideal situation is, say I'm starting from scratch. And this is actually a true story. When I started in business, I had no business qualifications, no idea, never knew about anything, marketing, sales, whatever, no experience whatsoever. But I knew that I wanted to achieve something. So when I invested in myself and I started to learn from my mentor, Master Akashna, he said to me, write down a goal that you have, like a specific goal, specific target. So what I wrote down, as many people that have been to our event, Project 1 Million in 1 year, is I wrote down, I'm going to make 1 million in 1 year. So I grabbed my book and I wrote it in there. And I think I remember which book it is as well, because I think, and I ended up giving that book away to Master Akashna as a gift. I think it was an astronomy book, but I wrote it down and I remember it very, very vividly. Now, at that moment, I had plenty of doubts because I was like, what if I'm not going to make it in a year? So that was a thought. So, like, when those thoughts pop up, this is another assignment that I want to give to you guys. Actually, write down what are the thoughts that are actively popping up, and maybe do that for a couple of days, or maybe do it for a week. That you actually just write down what are the thoughts that are popping up in my mind, and specifically, what I would like to encourage, and we're talking about this with another student that's part of our program, that you write down the negative thoughts that you're getting. And when this thought pops up, like for instance, for me thinking like, but what if I don't make it in a year? Now, write it down and then cross it out and replace it by something positive and say like, but what if I do, right? So these are thoughts that can pop up. So I had those very same thoughts. But then, and I think this is a very important ingredient that a lot of people might miss, or maybe if they did hear it, it may not have clicked in because it didn't feel as significant. But what helped me, and what later on also I realized by learning from mentors, like what was the significance of that, is that actually the time unit that you set for yourself doesn't matter all that much. It matters, but it doesn't matter. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So if I say I want to make 1 million in 1 year, then my doubts creep in with the 1 year part. Because truthfully, if you think about it, depending on what your age is and depending on how much you make in your job, most people have made 1 million already in their lifetime. So making 1 million is not necessarily like a really explosive thing. But what is an explosive thing is the time unit within which you can do it, or even more importantly, the ability that you have to keep it and multiply it, which is what most people have not done. Otherwise, everyone would have $1 million in their bank accounts. But in essence, that's the only thing. Like, what if I don't make it in that time? And coupled to that, where we have experience from in the past is that we may have done things before, that we set a goal before, and we got disappointed when we didn't make it. That's why there are so many people out there that say, oh, don't set too high goals, be realistic, and blah, 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 blah. And that's actually not beneficial whatsoever, because you are limiting yourself. And in your heart, and this is a thing that comes from the 10x rule, Grant Cardone talks about the fact that we know intrinsically what our potential is. And then if we do certain things that we know in our core are actually nowhere near to what we are capable of, we're instantly gonna not so feel so good about it, because we know we could do more. And you can just think about it in your own life. Are there moments where, like, I could do way better than what I'm doing right now? I could do so much more. I could help so much more people. Or here's the thing, how it comes up for a lot of people is you look at someone else who's got a certain results, like, but I could do that, and I could do that better. And if you have that thought, it's kind of like your inner feedback system or a feedback loop or whatever that shows to you like, hey, I could do more. Why am I not doing that? So that's like an indication that you should do more, and that you could do more, and that you would probably feel better if you would do more. Now, that being said, it's like the time unit where in my mind then also came the doubts, and where I was thinking about, what if I don't make it in a year? And like, whether or not you make it in a year, why would that bother me? It bothers me because then I would think, oh, but if I don't make it in 1 year, maybe then I will be disappointed. And maybe because I'm disappointed, I won't believe in him anymore. And maybe because of that, I'll probably not be able to do it. And you go into this whole negative spiral about something that hasn't even happened yet. So, in the way that we typically share this with our students, is that we say, and this is what I did as well, and what gave me the strength, even though I didn't realize that I was doing it, is that the time unit, you set it because it helps you to do things more fast and with a lot more speed than otherwise you would be able to do. But whether you make it within the time unit, the year, does actually not matter. So, if you then measure for yourself, okay, what if I don't make it within 1 year? Or if you are making it faster than a year, or slower than 1 year, that part doesn't matter. And there was a certain point in when I was writing that goal for myself, and I was having all this inner chatter in just a couple of seconds of time, I realized that, well, the thing that I can be certain about is that I know I can do it. And I know it is going to happen. So whether or not I'll do it within a year, I know for sure that I can do this too, because I've watched so many entrepreneurs talk about their success, and I know I could do that too. I know I have the energy. I know I want to help people. So I borrowed my energy and attitude from the fact that I know even if I was not to do it within the time unit, it will happen someday, some way, eventually, and that I could be excited about, and that I could feel confident about, because I knew in my heart there was this thing beating of like, I can do more. So I'm confident I can get to that result. Whether I'll do it in a year, not quite sure yet, but I believe I can do it. And then there happened a feedback loop from, again, the attitude that I had. Well, I'm definitely going to do it. And then I had the energy, and I was like, well, who's to say I won't do it faster than a year? I can do it. So I've used my attitude and my energy to couple it back to my thoughts to be like, no, I am going to do it in a year. Now, for those of you who know my story, know that a year in, not quite close, but 1.5 years, it happened. So what did that then show me in that instance is that, okay, it's actually very true. It doesn't matter whether you actually make it within the year. What just matters is that you know that you will at some point. Then why bother writing down a year at all? Well, if I wrote down I will make it within 500 years or 10 years or whatever, the level of action that I would have taken would be way less. And I would definitely not have made it in 1.5 years. So there is significance to writing down a time unit, because you can reverse engineer and you can push yourself to the levels that are required to actually get there. Now, if you read the 10x rule by Grant Cardone as well, you actually want to aim for 10 times more, because if you say 10 times more within a certain time unit, then you know, okay, if I'm going to do the levels of action that is required for 10 times more, definitely going to hit the one time, which I would already be happy with. That's a story for another day. But right now, just want to say that these are the thoughts that you then want to have. So you are kind of writing down a goal for yourself. You're saying, okay, I want to get sales. I want to be able to hit a certain financial goal. And you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. I believe in myself. And then you might think, oh, I'm not so sure if I can. And like, no, I can. Who am I to say that I'm not able to do it? And then here's the biggest thing. even though my mind and the thoughts and the logic couldn't fully comprehend it, because at that point I was making 2K per month. And that is 2K per month is 24K per year, right? 24K, 1 million is kind of like, wow, can't even comprehend what that looks like. But that's actually the right kind of goal, that you're aiming for something that is so incomprehensible that you're like, I have no clue. I don't know. I don't even know what it means to have that kind of money. So whatever, let's go. And that's actually quite cool too, because sometimes there's a lot of ignorance. No, there's bliss in ignorance is bliss. Yeah, ignorance is bliss kind of thing. So that, I have no idea what that kind of money looks like or feels like to have, but I'm excited by that goal, so let's go. And so the attitude that you then want to embody is the attitude of, okay, I'm excited. Let's go for it. And you might not be the type of personality like I am. I'm maybe a little bit over the top excited, but you do want to be excited. You do want to kind of like open up a little bit, have your energy be a little bit open, have a smile on your face, have a positive outlook, engage with yourself as well as with others in a positive manner. And what you'll notice, even if it's like you're not entirely sure about it, but your energy is just so positive, you will notice that things start to shift. And so I'll pause it there for a second. And I'll then now do a contrast of what most people do. Most people are starting their business or any other goal with the outlook of, well, let's see how it goes. If you have a thought or an attitude of let's see how it goes, it is definitely not an attitude of success. And it's definitely not an attitude that will have infectious energy that will draw in the results. So, what do a lot of people do? They say or think things like, well, let's see how it goes. The thing see, they say that a lot, like I will see, or we'll try to do it. I'm doing this and this and this, and still nothing has happened. Like these are the type of phrases and attitudes that a lot of the time most people carry, because that's also what is most common around us. It's what's being portrayed on the news or on the things that we daily consume. Probably most of the people around you will say things like this. And again, I refer to a lot of Grant's material because it's such good material. In his video series, Rules of Success, he actually gives an exercise which is absolutely mind blowing or eye opening. That's what I want to say, eye opening, in the way how do you respond to things. So he says, if someone asks you, how are things going? How do you respond? Most people are like, oh, it's okay. Whereas most successful people are like, hey, it's great. It's good. I'm excited. So that's a bit of a contrast there. Then how's the weather? Oh, the weather's the same. Oh, the weather's awesome. Awesome when it's cold. Awesome when it's raining. Awesome whether it's freezing. Or if you think, how was your weekend? Oh, nothing new. And the way how he shares it is way better than I'm sharing it right now. But it's an interesting thing. That's an attitude thing. And it doesn't mean that everything is always fantastic in your life, but you can have a fantastic outlook on it. Because think about it this way. If you listen to the news, which I don't really recommend, but we'll probably see a lot of stuff around us, there are people right now that are in a war zone. There are people that have no family whatsoever left in their lives. There are people that are in horrendous situations. Or even if you go to a fictional level, like for some of you that know, I watch The Walking Dead. And so if you think about it that way, there are no walkers walking around there trying to eat you up. So if it's raining today and I'm looking outside, it's still a great day because there's no monsters out there trying to eat me. So even if you have to do that sometimes to realize, like, to just compare and contrast to other situations that could be happening and that are the reality for some people right now, to still think like, hey, you know what? I've got air in my lungs and I have the ability to go outside. I have the ability to eat something. I have my loved ones around me. Like, you can just count your blessings. And for some people watching this right now, maybe some of these blessings that I've mentioned are not even the case for you. Like, I know a lot of people that have recently lost someone. That's devastating. And so, whatever is your case, there are some things that you are blessed with. There are some things that you can be absolutely happy with, like the fact that you woke up this morning. The fact that you're watching this video means that you are looking for something and you want to create something, so you have spirit. The fact that you are able to watch this means you have technology. You have a device that can tune into the internet, so you have internet. So you must be in a place where it provides that. These are all good things. And so, when I'm saying, and when Grant is saying in his rules of success, like the attitude to which, how do you respond to things? Normal questions like, hey, how was your weekend? How are things going? How are you feeling? Like, if you're always finding yourself having an attitude of then that has an effect on the way how your business goes. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't speak up if things are actually not so good and you need to reach out for that, because there's always contrast. My dad always says there's the ebb and there's the flow. Is that the way how you say it in English? I'm not so sure, but like the water goes up and down, and it's day and it's night. So there is contrast. There are moments where things are not actually as nice, but still in those moments you can have a different outlook on them. And so a lot of the time, what me and my dad do, and within our family, what we really stimulate and hold each other accountable on, is the way how we phrase it. So there could be moments where things are absolutely challenging. Now, when that happens, anyone in my family, direct family members, will say something like, I'm so grateful that we have this, this, and this. And whenever there's a challenge going on, hey, we got this. We're gonna make it through. We have faith. This is gonna be a beautiful milestone for the future. Or something is going on. It's like, hey, there's nothing we cannot handle. This isn't the first time that we haven't been through something like this. Or maybe if it is the first time because it's something newer, a bigger problem, it's like, hey, all the other previous things have prepared us for this moment. Let's do this. And that may sound ridiculous sometimes to people, to think like, whoa, that's like very, very positive. But here's the thing. Because we're operating in that way within our family and within our FLC core family, which is our team, those challenges that come our way are solved relatively fast. And that's a very big thing too. One of my students once said is that what characterizes a successful person is their time of recovery from a challenge or a problem. So it could be is that maybe a challenge is that you get a bill that you didn't expect, an extra 500 something to pay. Well, that's a lot of money because I need to do X, Y, Z, and whatever, right? Now there's this challenge, but you can make it happen. And the truth of the matter is that whenever challenges have happened in your life, you're still alive. You've made it through. You've been able to overcome them. And so the sooner you see, okay, I see that there's a problem over there, but I'm going to focus on the solution. I'm going to actually fuel myself with a good attitude. Say, hey, I've been trained for this. I'm going to solve this. Then the sooner you go away from problem mode to solution mode, and you actually get past it way more efficiently than if you dwell on the problem and you dwell on this is not good or that is not good. Or what happens a lot as well is that we start finger pointing. Yeah, it's that person's fault. And if it wasn't for that person, then it would have been this. And if it wasn't for, and then we know that we really have lost our way. I'm not saying there's no way back from it. There is. We've all been guilty of this before. But the thing is that there's reasons or results. This is something that Master Sri Akashna taught me on day one of my entrepreneurial journey. There's reasons or results. There's no room for both. So either you're going to go and reason, pointing, finger pointing, this is wrong, that is wrong, or you're going to get results. But there is no room in this universe to have both of them. Doesn't mean that we cannot be aware of circumstances and understand and have a feedback loop in our mind to think, these things weren't as beneficial. These collaborations weren't as beneficial. Maybe this was not the most ideal client to work with or the ideal person to work with or whatever may be the case. Then you have that feedback loop, but we are responsible. And as much as we like to think that any certain situation in our life was not nice because of XYZ, they did make us who we are today. So we learned something from it. So even in the worst collaborations or the worst client interactions or outbursts with family members or whatever, there's something that was to learn from that and was to gain from that. And also something there was to give from that, because not only you had a learning experience, the other person had a learning experience too, which means that, and this is what my opinion is that everything happens for a reason. And whatever has been going on into your life so far was there because you had to go through it. Like there are no coincidences in the way how I see it, at least. And there's this beautiful phrase in the Quran, which I don't know exactly the words of, but it was something like, if something is meant for you, it will not miss you. And these are the words of Prophet Muhammad. And also, if something is not meant for you, it will never reach you. So I find that a very comforting thing to hear, because then I know that everything is orchestrated in a certain way so that I can have maximum growth and maximum fruits at the end of this journey and during this journey, because there are so many checkpoints as well. And every moment we can experience some joy of what is going on, whether it's sometimes a nice period or a not so nice period. There is joy in moments when we are not so happy or comfortable because there are situations going on. Because that's the whole point of living as well, in my opinion, that we go through everything. And in those moments, it's not nice. I can tell you myself, it's not very pleasant, but it's part of it. And if you actually learn to then use also your body as an instrument, and you're listening, like, what does it do to me? What does it do to my stress levels, my heartbeat? What does it do to the way how I am breathing and all of these things? And you can actually tune yourself as well to become more calm. And I'll be the first to say that that's not always the easiest for me, but I'm training myself in that as well. So what I'm trying to say with all of these things here is that the way how we view things has an immense impact to the level of results that we can get and the speed with which they will flow in. So our attitude matters, and it even matters to the degree that we respond to a question of, how was your weekend? My weekend was great. How is the business going? My business is growing. Like, that's a completely different attitude of like, oh, it's so and this and that and whatever. But then also coming back to the point of responsibility, because responsibility is one of the most key reasons why there is only reasons or results. Because we have to understand that we are responsible for everything that's happening. I am responsible for everything that is happening in my life. And some people may look at that and think, like, how can you say that? Because sometimes things happen that are out of your control. Absolutely true. But I am fully responsible in my way of dealing with that. And in a lot of times, the way that I got myself into that situation. And this is really, really important. Again, I'm going to remain quoting Grant Cardone because his material is very prominent in this topic as well, where he says, even when he got hit by another car, did he take responsibility for it? Because had he left his house sooner to actually go on time, to be on time in his office, he didn't have to be at that exact place at that exact time where that could happen. Had he been responsible and do things the way how he knew they were supposed to be done, that thing wouldn't have happened to him. So that, for some people, is a really extreme case of responsibility, because how can you take responsibility for that? But what I will say is this: what is important is that we realize that if you take responsibility for everything, you get back the control in your life. Because if we continue to say, this is not going well because of you, then we lose control. Because if you think this is because of this person, then your control is gone. And your ability to take the creation powers back, you're just giving it away. So it's not always nice to hear that you are responsible for everything, but the other option, which is the opposite of it, is way worse, because then it means like, hey, I have no control whatsoever. It's like it's out of my hands. I'm the victim. I'm the victim of whatever everybody else does. Well, I don't know about you guys, but that's not the kind of life that I want to live. And I've seen the ramifications of that, whether this is in my life or in the lives of other people that I witness and see. So if you take on an attitude of, well, this is wrong, and you told me this, and you told me that, and all of that, then what we have to understand is that by us thinking that way, it already has an effect on our attitude. It has a definite effect on our thoughts, because we start justifying all of these thoughts in our minds. It has a definite effect on the way how we present ourselves, because we come off in a more negative way, in a more finger pointing way, which is never really pleasant. And it affects our energy. And I haven't spoken that much yet on energy, but we will do in a second. But all of these three things then affect the way how we believe in it. Because if I believe, hey, you're the bad guy here, therefore I'm not able to do these things, and I might still take actions, but those actions will most definitely not be with conviction. So these average actions will only lead at best to average results, will definitely not benefit your way of believing in it. So everything has an effect. And that's why people that are constantly complaining, constantly blaming, constantly using words, thoughts, and communication that is with this tone of me. I don't know if you guys get what I'm meaning, but that's the best way how I can present it. Will continue to see difficulty. And that's where we now get into the energy part as well, is that when you have that level of it's not working, or I don't know if I can, and then it's also because of this is that, and I've done all of this and I've done all of that. If you're constantly in that frame of mind, like, you can be the most beautiful person in the world, but it's going to affect your energy. Because even you can see how it affects my energy. If I'm going to say things like this, it's not working, and it's because of YouTube, it's because of Mark Zuckerberg, it's because of Grant Cardone, it's because of, I'm sorry, look at the way what it does to my face. Look at the way how it affects my posture, and look at the way how it also affects the energy that's coming through the screen. Versus if I say, hey, I take full responsibility. Yeah, there are certain things that my mentor taught me to do, and I think I've done it, but I haven't seen the results yet. Maybe I didn't do it right. Let's go back to the drawing table. Let's ask a question. Say, mentor, I've been doing all of these things, but for some reason it's not happening yet. What can I do better? Can you give me feedback? What should I do about this? What should I do about that? And let me tell you one thing. I'm working with amazing companies, and a lot of them are billion-dollar companies. And so sometimes also when I post these questions, because I post a lot of questions, sometimes it takes a little while. Like, I've posted one question and I've been awaiting the answer for a couple of weeks now, and maybe even 2 months. But there's communication and there's things and whatever. But hey, that's my responsibility. I'm not going to sit still, because I know these guys are busy too, and I know as soon as they can get to me, they'll get to me. But in the meantime, I'm going to do what I can do. I'm going to go back to the course. I'm going to make my notes. I'm going to talk to my dad. I'm going to talk to our team. I'm going to see, hey, what can we do? How can we make this better? I come up with ideas. And then, hey, I get an answer. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. Or that's not exactly what I thought, but I like that. Now let me incorporate that. So what I'm trying to say with this as well is that sometimes I get into situations where things don't go exactly my way or on my timeline. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be like, hey, because you're not answering me, therefore you are bad, and therefore I cannot progress, so I'm going to sit still. Oh no, nobody's ever going to get that power from me. I'm in control, to as much control that you can have as a faithful person as well, because I also believe that everything happens in with the good graces of the Almighty. But you know what I mean? That we are able to do things. We are able to create things, and we should never give our power away to someone else. We should just practice patience. We should be patient. If someone is not coming back to me, I follow up, say, hey, I've posted this question. Would you please have a look at it whenever you have the time? But that's not going to keep me sitting still. No, I am the leader of my business. And as Rajesh, the lead strategist of our team, always says, is that you are the driver of your business. You're the one that's supposed to do these things. And everybody around you, mentors, books, advisors, are there to help support you and amplify you. But you should never give your power away to someone else. And you should also most definitely not allow that to affect the way how your thoughts, your attitude, and your energy is. And so then coming back into energy, let me tell you an example. There are so many times, and I kid you not, that I have shown up with immense energy and excitement and just genuine interest in people, wanting to help them, wanting to support them, doing whatever I can to be there for them. And that I've had people do business with me just for my energy. And I can tell you that at some of those cases, in some of those occasions, I was a rookie. And there was no good reason that that presentation that I ran was qualified for even getting a sale, if you know what I mean. So I'm talking about my webinar days where I was speaking way too fast. And it was like not not that posture that you would expect of a mentor, but I got sales nonetheless. And then sometimes I was like, okay, so it worked. And then I asked these guys, like, hey, what was the reason why you bought? What's the reason why you want to work with me? Oh, I don't actually know what I bought, but I love your energy. Like, oh my gosh, that's interesting. And let me know if you've ever had that in your life, that it is your energy that allows you to get things done. And why do you get things done? Because if you think about interacting with other people, it may sound like a bad thing, but it's actually not. Like, why do you think another person would want to be in your energy? If it's positive, then obviously they would want to have a piece of that positivity. Maybe your positive energy is so exciting that it brightens up their day, even though there's a lot of stuff going on in their lives that may not be as easy at this moment. So it's refreshing to see positivity. It's refreshing to be working with someone who 100% believes in them. And even when I, now looking back at certain of those moments, that I was like, okay, sometimes I really was like very rookie like, but the energy was enough to do it. And then I ran an extra mile for that client, and in the end, it was all good. Or sometimes I was already in a state where I actually knew what I was doing very, very well, but also that energy amplified things. And so that is one thing where it's like energy in visible interactions with potential clients. Now, what about if you're not having a client interaction, but you have a website and there's stuff to be purchased from that website? Even then, there's energy playing a part. There's energy, and this is a really interesting thing, and we used to do this back in the day, and we still do this actually with our students, but we started it back in the day. It was quite funny, actually. We were training a group of beautiful people. It was about 100 people in a room, and we were training them how to run Facebook ads, and we were teaching them all the technical stuff. We were teaching them copywriting, images, targeting, all of that nerdy stuff, which one would think is most important in ads. But then we said this before anyone was allowed to launch their ads. We said, everybody, okay, stand up, wiggle around a little bit, do a little dance. Make sure you are in a good energy before you press launch. And some of you listening to this might be like, okay, that's one step too far. That's totally crazy. Stay with me. So that was a tradition, and they had to do it. And even anybody going through our education right now, you'll see in the course, it says, hey, before you launch, put on some music, good energy, get into the vibes, and launch it with that energy. Now, here's what we saw. Those students that actually took that on and were like super excited got better results with their ads than those that were like, that's crazy. And that had that level of attitude and that kind of energy. Isn't that magnificent? That even when you're running an ad, and mind you, they weren't featured in the ad, they were running ads for something else, for another project. So their face wasn't there. Like nobody saw them. It was kind of like the same ads that everybody was running. They were just behind the scenes launching the ads. No one ever saw their faces and felt their energy directly in the way that you feel my energy in having this live stream. But it had an effect. And so, what is this thing? For me, the way how I see it is, and this is also the way how I always have these very, very beautiful conversations with my dad. And again, if anybody is not yet following my dad, you have to follow him, Arjan Mano, on all social medias. But we always talk about, and I learned from him all about how we are one with everything. Everything is one with one another. And so that means that I am one with you, and you are one with me, and with any person on this planet, and with any animal, and with any tree, and any fiber of air or air molecules that are in here, or the rays of sunshine. We are one with it all. We all come from the same source, meaning that our energy and the way how I think about my business, even when no one can see me, the way how I genuinely want people to win, genuinely care for people to live a good life, for people to get results, to be happy, to be free. That genuine energy dissipates through everything. And that genuine energy that people can feel is affecting your results. So, what does that tell you? It just tells you that even those things that may feel absolutely insignificant, like you going out in a moment, doing grocery shopping, seeing someone behind the till and saying thank you and smiling at that person, even that interaction has an influence on your business and on your results. Isn't that crazy? Because our business is a reflection of who we are as a person. And if we're generally more negative, more complaining, or if we are looking almost for ways or reasons to say, like, see, this doesn't work, or anything else along this list, then you're sabotaging your business. But if you try from this moment onwards to actually be aware of your thoughts in any aspect, not just thoughts about the business or whatever it is that you want to accomplish your goal in, but you're just really doing your best to be a better person, to be a more positive person, to operate from gratitude. Maybe you want to do a gratitude journal every morning so that you can just have a couple of reasons to be grateful for, and actually start visualizing what you want for the future, and actually listen to music that puts you in that beautiful state, and then from that energy operate your business. And whenever you're communicating with people, whether that is the waiter that is serving you your food, or whether that's the guy that's opening the door at the store that you're going into, or whether this is someone that you're interacting with online in Facebook messages, or someone that you are interacting with professionally, someone who's giving you a service or you're giving them a service, whatever, whoever, even your family members, your kids, your spouses, your parents, whoever you're speaking to, if you just actually make a conscious effort in any of these interactions, and most of all, the interaction that you have with yourself, the conversations that you're having with yourself, if you make a conscious effort to make that a bit more positive, it most definitely will have an effect on your business or on the results that you want to gain. Because again, the thoughts that we are thinking, the attitude that we're taking on, the energy that therefore flows from us, all of this has an effect on the belief that we embody. And this basically affects this, and this affects that. And it's like all one big splush, blob of things that is just one. And that affects the way how we take action. And then, if we, when we take action, can actually understand that sometimes it is not about you taking that right action, or you taking that right action 5 times, or you taking that right action 10 times. It's about you taking that right action until you get it done, until you get the results, and you tweak where you need to tweak, you adapt where you need to adapt. Success is you being consistent with a positive attitude, consistent with your intentions in the right way. And it doesn't mean that there isn't a rainy day every now and again. There are times when I explode and where I say things that in retrospect I wish I wouldn't have said, or I think things that in retrospect I would wish I wouldn't have thought. But that doesn't mean that that's like a disaster. We're all human and we all go through emotions. And we just take responsibility for it. We take a deep breath in, we send love, and we express love and responsibility to those that were um, in those equations involved. And then we do the right thing again. And I think it was Frank Kern who said, just keep doing the right thing. If you just keep doing the right thing, meaning being kind to yourself, being kind in your thoughts, kind to others in your interactions, and kind to your outlook on life as well, then what you'll see is that that shift in the way how you think allows you to better deal with challenges. So for me, I might send 100 messages. Maybe only 2 people respond back to me. I may feel like, oh, that was a bad experience. I send out 100 and I only get 2 back. Or I look at it this way and say, hey, I sent to 100 and 2 came back to me. That is 2 people that I can speak to. That's 2 lives that I can change. That's 2 people that I will be able to do business with. And hey, what you know what? Tomorrow I might get a few more responses because not everybody's on their phone, right? Whatever you do, even if you're like say, okay, I have a different type of website. I don't interact with people, but I have a website. People interact there. Hey, I'm gonna make a post. I'm gonna send an email. Oh, I send an email. Nobody responds. I send another email. Nobody responds. Hey, you know what? I'm sending another email because as long as I keep sending emails, at some point something will happen. And as long as I'm being visible, at some point something will happen. And you know what? I'm just going to believe in it and I'm going to adapt. I'm going to go back to the drawing table. I'm going to see how can I improve. I'm going to ask me this question. If I look at myself objectively, would I want to do business with that lady? If the answer is yes, then keep doing what you're doing. If the answer is no, then maybe tweak it. But allow yourself to experience that. And it is in these thoughts, adaptations, actions, attitude, energy that you are building yourself such that before you know it, you are ready to receive that result, to receive that big trophy, because now your muscles are ready for it. Your mental muscles are ready for it. Your energetic muscles are ready for it. And so the result isn't going to come until you are ready. And how do you become ready? By doing the right thing, whether or not there is a result, whether or not there is a trophy that I'm getting today. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to be kind to people. I'm going to take responsibility. And I'm going to express as well. If there's sometimes a bad day, I express. It doesn't mean that it's always like rainbows and sunshines. No, sometimes it is not nice. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I feel like, oh my goodness, I didn't want this to be this way, and then I just have to talk about it. Sometimes there are interactions that I'm having with people that hurt me, or vice versa. I hurt people, and so then we express. We're not going to just keep it in our heart for too long. We're just going to also, in a responsible way, have a conversation, and that helps as well. That helps you air things out. So this is what we say to our students always: come to us, ask us questions, express yourself. And it could be, and I want to say this very honestly so that everybody is aware, also in your life, sometimes it may take a little while. Like sometimes, most recently, for those of you who know, I had some pain in my back and I wasn't as fast as I usually am in responding to clients. That can happen to me, can happen to you. That's part of life. So I'm going to have patience with those that interact with me, and in me leading by example in that patience, then also it will come back to me. And if it is not coming back to me, if some people are impatient, I'm just going to have a conversation. And so should you. Everything can be figured out as long as we have good communication, good energy flow. And why I'm mentioning also the reaching out part is that it is important to reach out sometimes. Like you may have a person that you can reach out to, whether that's a family member, a friend, or maybe a mentor. Maybe there's a mastermind group that you're a part of. Maybe there's accountability buddies. Could be someone that you've never met in person but online. Then reach out to that person. And that's where this final element comes in. Oh, thank you so much, Dad. Mwah. Yes, I will. And can everybody just please click on my dad's YouTube and subscribe? Because a lot of the wisdom today is wisdom that I got from you. That's why the environment is so important too. Because the thing is that if you are in an environment where constantly people are also of the meh vibration, then naturally being an instrument as well, we take that on in a way. There's ways that we can protect ourselves better. My dad can talk a lot about that as well, so watch my dad. Um, but it just has a significant effect. And the stronger you get, the more easily you're allowing yourself to reflect that and just take it with a grain of salt. But if you're in this process, especially at the beginning of a success journey, you might be more vulnerable to it. And so having people around you that are positive can massively impact you. And that's why a lot of people swear by having mentors, having a community, and having people that are empowering, so that when you're going through this little bit of a meh phase, which will naturally happen no matter how good your attitude is, that that person can lift you up and can say, hey, this is part of it. You got this, keep going. And tweak this, tweak that. I hold you accountable on this, or I hold you accountable on that. That's part of it. And that's good. But if you are in a social circle where there is constant negativity, it just makes it a little bit more difficult. So what some people say, hey, cut those people out of your life. I personally don't believe in that. I just think that it's important for you to really become aware of the level of negativity that is there. So if someone is really bad, really toxic, abusive, or whatnot, then obviously that's an absolute no-go. So if that is a situation that anybody is dealing with, then obviously be very aware of the effects of that and take a step to end that, because that's not healthy. And sometimes there's professional help that you need to seek, or sometimes it's help from elders or family members that can support you in that. Then seek that if that needs to be the case. But a lot of the time, and this is what I'm mainly referring to, it could be that you are the pioneer in your family. Like we see that a lot with our students, that the entrepreneur that we work with is the pioneer in their family, and other family members may be a little bit more doubtful about you seeking to pursue an entrepreneurial dream and then make 1 million in 1 year. What the heck? That sounds like a scam, right? And so if that's the situation, what I always like to say to people is to just have a conversation with your family and try as best as possible to realize that not everybody is on the same journey. Maybe you've been in this self-development space for years, and these people that you are in a relationship with love and respect and care may not have been in that situation, or may have had a completely different path and walk of life, which then makes them, from their natural care, want to protect you and want to make sure that you don't end up hurt in whatever situation that they think you are getting into. So it just has to do with the level of understanding, how long has a person been in a certain space, the things that the person has gone through themselves. So what I would always like to say to people, especially in these types of situations with negative friends, negative family members, as they are being called, to actually realize that most of the time these people come from love and they want the best for you. But a lot of the time, the communication is not in that way. And maybe when they say, hey, why are you keep working on the business? Just get a job, and this might be a scam or whatever. And that makes you like a little bit pissed off, and you're trying to work on your thoughts and your attitude, and then someone says that on top of it all, and then you're like, oh man, you snap, and then you start becoming less kind again. Then that's not helping the situation. So we once had this kind of discussion with a client. I think it was like 2 years ago, and then it was a similar situation with a family member, obviously loving, wanting to protect the person. But then we actually said to the client, like, in the way that you wish your family member would show up to you and show interest to you, maybe instead of, because the communication about the topic didn't really work because there was no common ground yet in that area, to say like, why don't you just show up for that family member in the way that you wish your family member would show up for you? Why don't you just come to that family member and say, and take an interest in what they're doing, take an interest in their life, take an interest in supporting them with their goals. And what happened in that genuine, maybe not on the sore topic of entrepreneurship, but on the topic that was more of interest to the other family member, once the love was given and the leading by example was given genuinely, it actually reciprocated and the relationship mended very, very much. And there was therefore room for conversation about the other topics. And within a couple of months, the whole situation turned around. And that family member actually became a supporter of the other family member that was pursuing the business. So, with that part, I just want to say be aware again that we have responsibility in this and we can create situations where we can turn things around. But it is important for everyone to know that there is an effect of our environment. So if there are people that you just simply hang with because it is just the friend circle, and actually there's no benefit of the way how that impacts you, and it's not necessarily a family member or a close friend that you have history with, but it's just like the group that always hangs, then just assess for yourself whether that's helping you to progress in your life or whether that's not the case, and be aware of really how important is this goal for you. And does that mean that sometimes you might be the bit of a boring person? Yeah, maybe it does. Maybe you're not the person that hangs out in the club or hangs out in the bar or hangs out in the whatever place people hang out. Could be the case. But then you have to ask yourself, like, where do you want to be? And what can you do also for others? Because sometimes it requires you to break free so that then you can lend a hand and say, hey, now let's bring you up. And now let's bring you up. So there's no one size fits all in this. But what I did want to say with regards to this whole belief thing is that environment definitely has an effect. And as long as you become aware of that, and in perhaps if you guys are open to writing down that exercise of writing down your negative thoughts, if you take it one step further and say, hey, I'm having this negative thought, what is actually fueling that? And if you realize, hey, this is fueled by what so and so said, and it's fueled by the news blabbing, and it's fueled, hey, cut those things out to the degree that you need to cut those things out, or manage those things to the degree that you need to manage those things. But when it comes to like really close family members and friends, I would always first advise to understand that most of the people that we care about us and come from a place of love, and maybe just have to lead by example in those situations. But if it's not a close friend and it's not someone that has a meaningful connection with you, like the news anchor on the television, then just turn that television off and do your thing. Or if you're following people that are constantly complaining on social media, maybe just take a break for a while and maybe block them. On Facebook, there's a take a break button, or maybe unfollow. Maybe do that. Or maybe create a new account and just don't deal with that stuff. Go and create a new account where you can invite people that are perhaps a bit more positive. Like these things have an influence on us. And if you here watching this video all the way till the end, it shows that you're interested in actually improving your life and creating the success for yourself. And if you want to do that and you want to have a better and stronger belief and have the right thoughts, the right attitude, and the right energy, then you just have to be aware that this does play a role, and just find a way for you to optimize that and give yourself the fruitful ground where you can actually grow. And that's it for me for today. So let me know in the comments if you thought this was useful, if you enjoyed this session. And I want to say again, thank you to Dad. And we have Josie in here as well. And that, okay, by the way, guys, this is my dad's name, Arjan Mano, on social media. Go follow him. And because, again, a lot of the stuff that I talk about today, I've actually learned from my dad. Josie in the house. Make sure to follow Josie as well. Josie is our FLC core family. And yeah, lovely conversation going on. If there's, again, any questions that anybody may have on this topic or any other topic, feel free to comment it below, because I absolutely enjoy doing this as well. And I would like to do a lot more of this too. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. And I see no other comments coming in. Yeah. So yeah. Also, one final thing, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to click on that bell so you're notified whenever I go live on a daily basis. And last but not least, if there's someone that you know that might really benefit from listening to this video, please share it. Please share it on your social medias, or maybe share it personally with people, because our job and mission and focus is to really make a difference to people's lives. And if we can do that by means of you sharing this, it will be so, so, so beneficial. Thank you so much, Dad. Yeah, I wanted to say Dad and Josie at the same time, so I say Jad. Thank you. Mwah. Love you. All right, bye, everybody. See you again tomorrow.